to start. John was only 19 when he suffered terrible injuries that left him without any ears at all. He was determined to become successful despite the disability, and by the time he was 40, he had built up a prestigious international company and was a millionaire many times over. The time came when he needed a good right-hand man, so from all the applications received, he whittled it down to 3. The first man was interviewed and showed great business acumen. John was impressed. However, at the end of the interview, he was asked the final important question. Do you notice anything different about me? You've got no ears, came the reply. Poor John was so touched about his appearance that the man was dismissed immediately. The second candidate was interviewed, and she was even more impressive than the first. Then came to the final question, and how would you describe me, he asked. Well, you got no ears, she replied, and so she didn't get the job either. So it finally came to the third person. The man strode in confidently, did a perfect interview. John was very impressed. He asked the final question, and what about me? Is there anything you notice? Yes, replied the man. You wear contact lenses. John was overjoyed. That's right. How did you know? He said, because it would be hard to wear glasses without any fucking ears.
I saw that coming.
A builder was at the top of a high scaffold. When he realised he needed a saw. 2 floors below him, he spotted his mate, so he called to him. Pete, he hollered. I, he said, pointing to his eye. Need, he said, pointing to his knee. A saw. He finished making the sawing movement with his hands. But then, to his astonishment, his mate took out his willy and began masturbating. So quickly, the builder came down to where his mate was standing and said, Bill, what the hell are you doing? He said, I was just letting you know I'm coming. So the husband returned from work and enthused about his new secretary. You know, she wears a blue and yellow bra. He said, the colours of my favourite football team. Then, seeing his wife's face, he added hastily, but it's no big deal. It just makes me feel good. Following night, he returned home and said to his wife, you won't believe this, but she told me she also wears blue and yellow knickers. Of course, it's no big deal, but it just makes me feel good. A couple of days later, it went by when his wife greeted him at the door with the words, I've got a new boss at work. His dick is 3 inches longer than yours, but it's no big deal. It just makes me feel good. A lady who sold household goods door to door had just finished visiting a block of flats and called for the lift. As she stepped inside and pressed for the ground, she was forced to let rip an almighty fart. Oh well, never mind, she thought. At least there's no one else in here. Nevertheless, she got some Pioneer freshener from her bag and sprayed it around the lift. Then, to her horror, the lift stopped on the 12th floor and a dishevelled man got in. Immediately began to make loud sniffing noises, and the woman felt obliged to remark on his behaviour. Is there something wrong? She asked innocently. I'm not sure, but it smells like someone just shut a Christmas tree. A man started work in a clothing factory, but after being there for 6 weeks, the boss noticed always took Friday off. Now look here, Pete, said the boss. You fitted in here very well and you're a very good worker, but you're never here on Fridays. Why is that? Are you sick? Yeah, replied Pete, I am. He hesitated for a moment and then continued. It's my brother-in-law. Every Thursday he gets paid, goes down the pub, drinks with his mates until he's really pissed, and then he goes home and beats up my sister. So on my way to work on Friday mornings, I always pop in to see how she's feeling. The problem is, after comforting her, somehow we always end up in bed together. What? Exclaimed I said, are you telling me you shot your sister? Well, I told you I was sick, replied Pete. A delivery truck arrives at the gates of a science laboratory, and the driver is directed to the building on the far side of the factory site. I've got a bunch of cages for you, he tells the scientist. Where should I put them? The scientist points to a separate room and is just walking away when the delivery man calls to him. Hey mate, what do you want all these cages for anyway? The scientist replies, we're going to be keeping some lawyers in them. He replies, they're going to be used for a number of experiments. The delivery man scratches his head in punishment. Don't you normally use rats for that? He goes, yeah, we do, but we get attached to the rats. An English businessman was invited to a state banquet on a visit to Moscow. He was relieved to find himself sitting next to a stunning blonde who smiled warmly at him as he sat down. Halfway through the meal, having drunk a few vodkas, he knocked his napkin onto the floor and fondled the girl's ankle as he picked it up. Much to his disappointment, the girl did not react. A little later, the man dropped his knife, and this time again, when he picked it up, he fondled the girl's knee. Again, no reaction. But then suddenly, as his hand moved further up her leg, she began scribbling furiously on the back of her serviette, which she then passed over to him. It read, when you get to where you want to be, please show no surprise whatsoever. Yours sincerely, Arthur Parkinson, MI5.
Oh, yeah.
A managing director rose to his feet and glared at the men sitting round the boardroom table. Right, he demanded. Who's been having an affair with my secretary? The room was silent. Okay, continued the MD. Who hasn't had an affair with my secretary? Again, there was silence, and then a hand was slowly raised. Actually, sir, I haven't, said a small, shaky voice. In that case, you sack her. A woman was drinking in the company bar when 3 of her male colleagues came to join her. Damn this bloody audit, said one. I'm really screwed. Me too, said another. I'm bloody screwed as well. The third one shook his head in despair. And I'm really fucked, he said sorrowfully. In the silence that followed, the woman said, hey guys, can you tell me how I get audited? Now, that's the end of the company ones, but I've got a few confessionals. The priest had been in his new parish for about 18 months, and he was already fed up with the number of people coming to him in confession and talking about their affairs. Eventually, he told his congregation to use another word. From now on, I would like you to say you have fallen instead of telling me you're having an affair. The new word worked very well, and then it came to the priest's summer holiday, and another priest came to stand in for a month, but was not made aware of the new arrangement. After 2 weeks of listening to the daily confessions, he was astonished at what he was being told, so he went to see the Lord Mayor. I'm very pleased with the local people's moral, he said. They have very little to confess to me. I think something should be done about the state of the pavements, though, because the people seem to be falling down all the time. The Lord Mayor told him, there's nothing to worry about there, Father replied. Well, I think there is, persisted the priest. Your wife has fallen 3 times this week.
Great jokes.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned, said the man in the confessional. What is it, my son? Came the reply. Well, last week I went round to my girlfriend's flat, but she wasn't in. The only person there was her flatmate, and we ended up having sex. Oh dear, said the priest. And then a couple of days later I popped round to my mate's house, but he'd gone down the pub. Only his wife was home, and we ended up having sex. Oh dear, remarked the priest again. The man continued. So then last night I went into the local pub and it was empty. Everyone had gone to watch the darts team playing away. There was only Mandy serving behind the bar, so we ended up having sex. What should I do? But there was no answer from behind the screen. Mother, are you there? demanded the man. No answer came. So he began looking for the priest and eventually found him hiding behind the pews. What on earth are you doing here? He exclaimed. Well, I suddenly realised that you were alone. So, this is my last one for the evening, last confessional. A man went to the confessional and told the priest he had sex with a married woman the night before. I don't understand, said the priest. What do you mean by almost? Well, we rubbed our naked bodies together, but I didn't actually put it in. Well, in God's sight, rubbing together is the same as putting it in. So you will say 20 Hail Marys and you will put £20 in the collecting box for the poor. So on the way out, the man went up to the box with his £20 note, but after a moment, he put the money back in his wallet and walked out. Hey, said the priest who had seen him, why didn't you put the 20 in the box? Well, I rubbed the £20 against the box, replied the man, and in God's sight, rubbing is the same as putting it in.
That's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Applause.
Thank you very much. That's my
Oh, thank you so much.